The boyhood dream of Shawn Michaels, will it be realized? And the only way to do that, he has to go 1 hour with the ring general, that is Bret the Hitman Hart.
And Jake is back, and he's not wrestling without a shirt anymore, which is kind of funny because Vader and Yoko, they don't mind having their titties flopping out, but Jake, he's shy.
I mean, Piper, the first time I was like, oh, it looks like he really punched him. And then the second time, it's like, he definitely punched. The return of the Ultimate Warrior. The King was building it up. Oh, I've heard he's 400 pounds and bald now.
Says, this is an Iron Man match. Y'all wrestle for 60 minutes. The man who has the most pinfalls by the end of the time limit will be the winner of World Wrestling Federation Championship. Well, next up is our Wrestling Rewind.
And this week is WrestleMania 12. The boyhood dream of Shawn Michaels, will it be realized? And the only way to do that, he has to go 1 hour with the ring general, that is Bret the Hitman Hart. Can Shawn Michaels out-wrestle Bret Hart in a 1 hour mat classic?
Yes, the challenger seeks greatness while the champion strives to maintain it. And we already played Linda McMahon's music, so we go to the Pond in Anaheim, California. Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler are on commentary, and they play up all the matches that we want to see, and then Vader's music cuts them off. And the first match of the night is Vader and the British Bulldog and Owen Hart versus Yokozuna, Ahmed Johnson, and Jake the Snake Roberts. If Yoko's team wins, Yokozuna, gets Cornette in the ring for 5 minutes. That would have been entertaining. They show little video clips of Yoko preparing for his 5 minutes with Cornette by squashing balloons that have Cornette's face drawn on them. Very old school. And Jake is back, and he's not wrestling without a shirt anymore. That's worth noting.
Yep, it's the vested Jake.
Which is kind of funny because Vader and Yoko, they don't mind having their titties flopping out, but Jake, he's shy.
I mean, Vader looked pretty stacked.
That's because he was next to Yoko.
Even before Yoko came out. I don't know, his traps were there. And also, underrated, but that music of his is great. It's time!
Oh, yeah.
It's time! And then, dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Great music.
Yeah, he's great. Bulldog no longer has long hair, and he actually looks skinny compared to Mushmouth Ahmed. For some reason, Mr. Fuji is at ringside, and he's just waving an American flag. Just weird.
Because Yoko's a face now.
So they changed nationalities, I guess.
Yeah.
We saw Bulldog's running power slam, and we saw Jake's DDT. And the biggest pop of the match was when Jake teased DDTing Cornette.
By the way, I forgot who it was, but they kicked out of Bulldog's power slam pretty nonchalantly, too. Whoever he hit it on, they kicked out.
That was...
it wasn't an interference. Yeah, it wasn't interference. He just flat out kicked out.
Yeah, old man Jake. Because he's the elder at this point, I think. Him and Bulldog.
Oh, he still snaps that DDT.
Yep. And Vader ends up hitting Jake with the Vader bomb for the win. Pretty inoffensive, I guess. The biggest moment for me was Ahmed. He had a flying clothesline, and he went, ah! And yeah, he looked like a beast.
Yeah, I like Jake's DDT. Very snappy that thing is. Oh, there was a point where Owen Hart did the step up enziguri, and I was just thinking, man, like no one uses that move anymore in wrestling.
It's not flashy enough.
I mean, you're kicking someone in the back of the head. And then I went down this like memory rabbit hole. Do you remember the NES game Pro Wrestling with Starman and the Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was that guy who wore the black trunks, and his little finisher was the enziguri. I was like, man, I'd like to play that. Just like hit that enziguri. And then they do the brain busters, and then the Starman had his little star kick.
Yeah, that was a fun ass game.
You're not going to tell me that one guy wasn't Ric Flair. And then, yeah, Amazon just straight bite you in the head. Oh, boy, did he piss me off when I used to play, and he would just keep biting you. Anyway, just a random memory all off of an enziguri.
Well, after the 6-man tag match, Roddy Piper is standing in a Hollywood back lot. He's holding a baseball bat. It turns out that Roddy Piper is facing Goldust, and it's a Hollywood backlot brawl. So Piper, somehow the president of WWF, newcomer Goldust, is turned on by his power. And Goldust recites a poem about his innermost feelings to Piper. Then he sucks on a bagpipe. Eventually, Piper's goaded into a match with Goldust where he vows to make a man out of him. Then we get an arbitrary shot of Marlena just sitting in a chair. Like, oh, she's waiting. We cut back to Piper, who's still standing with the baseball bat. And then a gold Cadillac just screeches into frame. And Piper has a stare down with the Cadillac. And he says, come on, come get some. So then the car screeches towards Hot Rod. Then it just stops. And then Roddy starts spraying the car with a fire hose, because I guess all back lots have a fire hose just hanging around. And I guess that distracts the driver enough for Roddy to bash the car with the baseball bat. So Goldust flees the car, and then he just proceeds to get his ass kicked from one end of the lot to the other by Roddy. And he keeps asking Roddy if they're close enough. And at one point, Roddy throws a full can of either beer or soda at Goldust, which had to hurt. And he even hits him with a couple legit punches.
Boy, did he.
And Goldust ends up hitting Roddy in the dick and scrambles back into the Cadillac. He tries to run down Piper, and Piper jumps on the hood of the Cadillac. He ends up falling off, and Cadillac screeches off. Piper limps into a Ford Bronco and gives chase. And I gotta say, that was just as wild and pointless as the first time I saw it.
It's definitely wild. I mean, Piper, the first time I was like, oh, it looks like he really punched him. And then the second time I was like, he definitely punched him.
They got that close up. It's like, ah!
Yeah, you just hear like the thud.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I wonder if there's any stories out about that. Why did he really punch him?
No, that's Dusty's kid, and Piper's a legend. They probably just made it look as real as possible. That'd be my guess. Because they got the close-up. It's not like he punched him in the face off camera or something. Like it was a deliberate.
Right. Yeah. It's just Piper being Piper.
Right.
Yeah, so, it makes sense. So then they're off in hot pursuit. And as soon as Piper got in that white Bronco, I said, oh yeah, I remember where this is going.
Yeah. Well, that was the end of that. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Savio Vega have their match next. Austin and Vega were partners at one time, but Austin refused to tag him, of course. So they're not tag partners anymore. Seems to be like the default. We're going to split them up. Well, how are we going to do that? He's just not going to tag him. It's good shit, pal.
They made it sound it was some kind of lethal lottery type deal where you get a random tag team partner. And then they got tagged up, and then he wouldn't tag him in.
Okay. I guess that makes more sense then. So before the match, Doc Hendricks interviews Vega, who says, Stone Cold Steve Austin, be prepared for the fight of your life, because I'm coming for you. And Piper phones in during the match to say if this fruitcake thinks this is how it's going to end, he's all kinds of wrong. And then they show aerial footage of Piper being chased by the police. Evans says the shot looks awfully familiar.
Yeah. I think that was like the actual OJ footage.
I have no idea. Maybe.
Or maybe they did it shot for shot.
If they were smart, it would be the actual footage. I wouldn't pay to redo that.
The time it was, I can just imagine them like putting the VCR in and just pushing record over the screen.
Right.
Because, that's how you screen recorded it back then. You put a VCR in and then you recorded.
So this started off as a really good match until the Piper shit kind of took me out of it. It seemed like they were more interested in this silly high-speed pursuit than Stone Cold beating the shit out of Savio Vega.
Yeah. I think he called in 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, oh, Piper's calling in on his cellular phone.
He did say that, yeah.
And then at one point he was talking, Piper that is, and it sounded like he was out of breath, but he was driving, so he may have been running, but he was driving.
He was hurt. That's how he plays hurt.
Oh. I was like, what is he running after the car?
Savio ended up spinning kicking the referee. Austin beats Vega up with the $1 Million Championship. He even clocked him in the back of the head. There's a nice little sickening thud. And then Austin locks in the $1 Million Dream for a long ass time. And then the ref regains consciousness. And he rings the bell because Savio is obviously out. And then Austin keeps the hold on for a long ass time after. Like, it got uncomfortable.
Yeah, he really kept it on.
Yeah.
And my favorite part of it all was how he was shaking his head while he was doing it. He was doing the old Austin head shake.
Yep. And then some old guy just comes to ringside and he weakly points at Austin. And then Austin lets go. And that's the birth of a legend.
This is really young Stone Cold. I mean, they just started calling him Stone Cold, as he was previously the ringmaster. And it was before all his knee braces and stuff. He's actually doing wrestling moves, like jumping off the top rope.
Mm-hmm.
He hit the front elbow, but he went from the top rope and like jumped halfway across the ring. Like, wow.
He was good shit, man. I like when they were punching each other and then they just started rolling out of the ring.
Yeah.
That's not unique to Austin, but it is unique for the modern fan, I would say.
Yeah. I also liked his entrance, Austin's, because it was like absolutely nothing flashy about it. He didn't even hold the title. He just had it on his shoulder and he'd just give that stone cold stare to the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's great. Wish he would come in and steal main events more often. Mr. Perfect interviews Diesel, and Diesel's facing The Undertaker, who apparently has been fucking with Diesel's head. They show a clip of Taker pulling Diesel under the ring during the end of a cage match with Bret Hart. And Taker did a spooky shit with the lights when Diesel tried to attack him. And the icing on the cake was Taker presenting Diesel with a coffin that had somebody that looked just like Diesel in it. And we see Diesel spooked and he slams the coffin lid in a panic. And then Perfect tells Diesel that he must be shitting bricks at the thought of facing The Undertaker. Diesel says, "I'm Big Daddy Cool. I don't sweat the little things or the big things. Big Daddy takes cool at Taker tonight. And if Michael wins, he's next." It's kind of a contradiction there.
Probably. But what stuck out to me is I didn't remember Diesel getting dragged to hell. I remember the lights going out thing. Why didn't I remember the coffin part of it?
I don't know.
I guess that was a prosthetic or something. I don't know what the hell that was. It did look just like Diesel, though. Whoever did that, they did some good work.
Well, after that, Hunter Hearst Helmsley and the Ultimate Warrior have their match. Helmsley comes out. I forgot how much I really liked his original gimmick. When Helmsley was the Blue Blood, that was kind of when I first started becoming like a serious wrestling fan. And my first impression of Helmsley, he was wrestling Ahmed. And every time Ahmed would touch him, Helmsley would stop everything so he could wipe himself off.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they didn't flat out say it, but you didn't have to. It was great. And I've liked him ever since. So Helmsley gets the jump on the Ultimate Warrior before the bell rings, and before he even gets his jacket off. And Helmsley hits his pedigree, which Warrior immediately gets up from, hits Helmsley with a couple clotheslines and a shoulder charge, then hits him with a splash to the back, and to add salt on the wound, he pins Helmsley with his knees. Helmsley at least got to come out with Sable.
Yep, that was a debut of Sable. I don't know, this is like a 2-3 minute match. The return of the Ultimate Warrior. The King was building it up. Oh, I've heard he's 400 pounds and bald now. And he wasn't either one of those things.
Of course not.
Got one of the biggest reactions coming out.
He did get a big reaction. I did
fireworks going off. Sad that was I think that was the end of the Warrior being at WrestleMania. It's probably like one of his last appearances, yeah. It was a great one.
Well, after that, Johnny B. Bad makes his debut as Wild Man Mark Marrow. Marrow says he's up to any challenge WWF wants to throw at him. And we cue Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He's yelling at Sable because he lost his match. Marrow tries to stick up for Sable. Helmsley ends up clocking him. And Marrow and Helmsley start fighting. And my favorite part was when Helmsley clocks Marrow and then he just kind of stops and he goes, "Ah!" And then he turns. So it looks like we're getting Marrow and Helmsley on the horizon. I don't think we're going to get a WrestleMania match out of that.
Nope, but they're fighting over the hand of Sable.
Yes.
If I remember.
And then we find out that Goldust and Piper are on their way back to the arena for some reason.
Goldust is trying to get away, and the only way he knows how is to come back to the arena.
Yes. And up next is Diesel versus The Undertaker. And Diesel got booed. He was not a fan favorite here.
I think he was heel before. At least that's what I was picking up on commentary. Or he was in the midst of turning heel, I guess.
It didn't seem like he was a heel.
Yeah, from his earlier promo, I thought he was a face. But he was definitely getting booed. Well, I guess if you take into account like the video package they showed, you would say he was a face as well.
I think The Undertaker was supposed to be the heel, wasn't
he? From the video package, it looked that way.
Well, from the crowd reaction, that was not the case. But his entrance was awesome.
Yeah.
And the match starts off pretty great. Like, they both start beating each other's ass. It's like Diesel has had enough of the mind games and shit. It kind of seemed like Diesel turned heel in the middle of the match.
He was going based off the crowd reaction.
Yeah. The pace just kind of seemed to change from then on out, not necessarily for the better. Diesel eventually hits Taker with a jackknife, and then he just stands with his hand on his hips, and he tells Taker to get up so he can deliver a second jackknife. And then after the second jackknife, he just leans on the ropes. And then after an unnecessary amount of time, Diesel finally goes in for the pin. And of course, Taker recuperates.
Diesel goes down for the pin. Undertaker grabs him by the throat to do a chokeslam or to get back up. And then Diesel beats the shit out of him. And then we do this like 2 or 3 times. And then finally the Undertaker is able to get back to his feet. By the way, we play the same scenario 2 or 3 times. Undertaker grabs him by the throat. He beats the shit out of him. And then he just stays there on his knees for a couple seconds. Then he goes for the pin.
Jason.
Yeah. And then we get to our feet. And Undertaker gets the chokeslam. Probably not the best chokeslam. But given that he's chokeslamming someone 7 foot, over 300 pounds, you can give him a pass on that one. And then he has his tombstone.
And what did you think of the match?
A little slow pace, but I liked it for the most part. Diesel was doing a lot of posing or taunting to the crowd. He said, he was getting booed, so maybe he was just trying to play that up. After he hit the jackknife, I don't know why he didn't go for the pin. And then he hit it again. Yeah, and then he hit it again and still didn't go for the pin. It was almost like when Sid Justice got Hulk Hogan and he could have won the match, but he didn't go for the pin.
Right.
On one hand, I can see it that you're probably trying to protect your move, because if you go for the pin and he kicks out, then that's going to be another story. And I even think at this point, we weren't kicking out of finishers yet, outside of, the Bulldog getting his finisher kicked out of. But outside of all that, it was an okay match.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. Like I said, it started off really good.
Yeah, it just felt like it was slow. But it was the story they were telling, because Diesel was controlling the Undertaker. Like, he'd do a move to the Undertaker, and then the Undertaker would be laying there for so long. Like the sidewalk slam, and then he'd just sit there and pose while the Undertaker's just laying there. And then finally he sits up, and then they do another move back to the same thing.
But it's worth noting that is Diesel's last WrestleMania match.
Where's he going next?
He's going to TNA.
Oh.
It's a little upstart company.
Oh. And is this before or after the fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon?
That he goes to TNA?
Yeah, you said this was his last WrestleMania. So was this before or after the fake Diesel and Razor Ramon? Because he left and came back, right? When they did the
came
fake
back
thing?
with the NWO.
No, when they did the fakes.
He didn't come back. No, when they did the fake Razor and Diesel, he was already with WCW.
Okay.
In fact, they gave him a bigger contract because I guess WCW, they thought there was a chance that they were actually there or something like that.
They got tricked.
Yeah. So they gave him more money, at least according to Nash.
I want to know more about that whole fake thing. What was that all about anyway?
They thought that it didn't matter. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went to WCW. Even though they weren't Razor and Diesel, they kind of played Razor and Diesel. I think WWF tried to sue them, so they had to kind of tone it down a little bit. But anyway,
they think they could just recast him.
Yeah, they said that it's the characters, not the people playing them. We own them.
The fake Diesel was one Isaac Yankem DDS previously. And then he'd be later known as Kane.
And the fake Razor was Rick Bogner.
I don't know who that is.
Well, it doesn't matter because we have a Roddy Piper and Goldust update.
Ah, yes. Very important.
Piper
After
and
the OJ chase.
Yes. Piper and Goldust finally make it back to the arena. Goldust runs inside, and Piper gives chase. So naturally, they both just happen to find their way back to the ring. And I guess they had something of a match. And Goldust eventually kisses Piper. Piper loses it, grabs Goldust by the balls. Then Piper spanks Goldust. Then Piper strips Goldust. Then Piper kisses Goldust. Then after a long-ass time, trying to get the rest of Goldust's clothes off, Piper stomps him in the dick. I don't know what I just watched.
Well, you kind of skimmed over the fact that when Goldust was derobed, underneath he was wearing women's lingerie.
Yeah. I didn't skim over it. I repressed
also
it.
to note, which I was actually kind of impressed with of this whole thing, is his body was also painted gold. So he took the character. At least with that, he lived the character. After he got derobed and Piper low blowed him, he kind of just ran off, and that was the end of whatever that was. And Piper's music started playing. He was in really good shape.
He was.
But I don't know who you would say won that. It seems like it was never a match. It was just a fight.
I don't know if anybody won, but we sure lost.
Sure did. And all I was thinking was, and that's Dusty's kid.
That's Dusty's kid. I enjoyed Goldust, though. I like how he fucked with people's heads.
Yeah, he was great. I remember when he had initially debuted, first of all, the 24 karat gold production, and then he walks out there. We don't know what the hell's going on. He's got that wig on, and he takes the wig off, and it's like, whoa! I don't know. It was just shocking that he took the wig off and he was bald. But he is the bizarre one.
I really enjoyed his feud with The Undertaker. We should go back and discuss that.
Well, we'll have time after these shows are done. We're going to have to fill the gap somehow.
It's true.
Maybe we can do retro
rivalries or something.
Rivalries.
Yeah.
Oh, write that down.
Well, up next is Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart for the WWF Championship. And they played a video package that highlighted how different yet similar both men are. Shawn Michaels is flamboyant from San Antonio and trained by legend Jose Lothario. And Bret Hart is blue-collar Canadian. He's trained out of his father's legendary dungeon. And apparently this is an Iron Man match because Roddy Piper being the president of the WWF, he just decided it was.
Okay.
And before the match, Shawn says that there's nothing left to say. And Bret says that he just wants to wake up tomorrow as champion. And then we get to the ring, and I guess Piper is no longer president, and it's Gorilla Monsoon now. So he must have abused his power one too many times. And Michael's music plays, and out comes Jose Lothario very slowly. And then Shawn's music stops. Lothario gets onto the ropes, and he points to the ceiling. Shawn's music plays again, and HBK's in the rafters. And Michaels then ziplines to the ring, and personally, I would have shit myself from the ceiling to the floor. I guess that's why I'm not the Heartbreak Kid. And Bret comes out wearing black and pink, and he looks like a megastar, especially with that jacket.
Oh, that jacket was awesome. I want one.
And both men meet in the center of the ring while Hebner goes over the rules. He says, "This is an Iron Man match. Y'all will wrestle for 60 minutes. The man who has the most pinfalls by the end of the time limit will be the winner of World Wrestling Federation Championship." And finally, Bret kisses the title, hands it to Hebner, shakes Monsoon's hand, and we're off. And Shawn actually out-wrestled Bret for a bit, at least. And I think Bret played into the heel side a lot more, especially when he's yelling at the fans and the referee. He was the first one to lose his temper. He even shouted at Lothario, the old man.
It brought him joy when he bumped him later.
Yeah. I like when he was yelling at Hebner, "This isn't a staring contest, ask him." Shawn super kicked somebody on commentary, and he got stretchered out, showing the importance of the wrestling moves.
I guess it makes sense that they're trying to show you how devastating the super kick is.
Yeah.
Just remind you if he hits it, because that guy got stretchered his ass out.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, think about it. Bret Hart can take 2 because he's a professional wrestler. He is a super athlete. The guy on commentary took 1 and he had to be taken to the hospital because he's not a super athlete. I think that's brilliant. That's shit that they don't do anymore. For some reason, Hebner takes a ref bump that has no impact on the match whatsoever. So I don't know if like he just happened to be out of position and got bumped.
I don't know. It was weird. Because, yeah, he wasn't out for a long period of time like the ref that took the spin kick from Savio Vega earlier.
Right.
Like, that ref was dead. And Hebner, he just took this bump and he was like right back up. There was no cheating. There was no nothing.
Right. It was like, why was that even a part of the match then? Shawn took 2 insane dives outside the ring. The second of which he hit Lothario with. The first one was just insane. The back body drop. What do you think's worse, when you know it's coming or if it just happens?
Probably if you know if it's coming. Because, yeah, it's in your mind and you gotta keep playing it over. Like, oh, it's coming.
Bret threw Shawn into the Lothario. And like you said, he did take great pleasure into all of that. And then Hart finally locks in the sharpshooter, and it's 30 seconds left to go. And the time expires. Now it was great because the whole time they were playing up, all they have to do is get 1 more pin than the other guy. And then as time expired, all they got to do is just get 1 pin. And then the time finally expired. It's like, well, now what happens? Well, naturally, Hart thinks that the match is over and he goes to leave. And Monsoon, he comes into the ring and he goes, no, there has to be a winner. And he says, sudden death rules are now in effect. And Bret's pissed. Understandably so. And this is also the second Mania in a row where he just says, fuck.
Yeah.
And Vince later says it's Piper's fault that there has to be a winner because he set the Iron Man match. So he put it all on Piper's feet. If Piper didn't make this an Iron Man match, then we wouldn't be doing this right now. So the match restarts and Bret beats the piss out of Shawn. And then Michaels hits Bret out of nowhere with a super kick. And that just fucks Bret's shit up. And then Michaels tunes up the band. And he nails Bret with another super kick for the 1-2-3. And then we get the iconic shot of Shawn sitting in the middle of the ring, just staring at the belt, tears in his eyes. And then Shawn goes and shakes the hands of Bret's family. It's a dick move. I would just beat your son.
Well, they shook it back, so
yeah,
there's that too.
He sure did. What's up, Stu? He didn't seem too pleased. Fuck you, young whippersnapper. But that was WrestleMania 12. And I was surprised that the WWF title was the only one on the line.
Oh, yeah. There's no other title matches. There was also no Bad America the Beautiful. By bad, I mean, like,
yeah,
the person singing.
La, la, la.
Yeah. It's like they learned their lesson from that one.
We're all give it a break for a year.
Or because of the Iron Man match, it seems like they had to focus on that only. Because that's what they did.
They sure did. Well, WrestleMania 13 would be obviously the next one on the list. The main event for that one was Sid and Taker. But first, we have WCW World War III. I think this is the second one that they've done. And so this time they decided that the winner of the World War III Battle Royal would receive a title shot for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Makes sense.
Yeah, kind of does. As opposed to somebody just winning it.
Yeah.
And Jericho faces Nick Patrick. The thing is, Nick Patrick keeps fucking with Jericho after Halloween Havoc. Eventually, Jericho's provoked into challenging him for a match. Only Jericho has to keep one arm tied behind his back. Giant and Jeff Jarrett have a rematch. Dean Malenko and Psychosis face each other for the Cruiserweight title. You're going to love this. Ready? Colonel Robert Parker versus Sensational Sherry.
What? Well, I guess he did have that match against Medusa.
He did.
So he has precedence. What are they trying to do on this paper? They're getting cocky already. Oh, yeah, let's put Nick Patrick in the match. And also on the same card, we'll have Colonel Parker versus Sherry. We got the NWO, so who cares about anything else?
Well, Colonel Robert Parker, remember on Halloween Havoc, he gave the cane to Kevin Nash to help the Outsiders win the tag titles.
Right.
Of course, Harlem Heat were pissed off at him, and I think he went to, I can't remember the tag name, but some Canadians.
But we're talking about a pay-per-view here.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that on TV.
Nope. It's got to be a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
Oh, and then
they're getting cocky.
for the tag titles, we have the Outsiders versus Faces of Fear versus Nasty Boys.
That could be something.
Okay.
I guess. This doesn't seem like it's going to be one of the better pay-per-views.
Oh, I don't think it is.
But we got the Royal Rumble thing, the 60-man Battle Royal.
Well, at least you'll enjoy it.
I'm just trying to give it something. Maybe that's why they can get away with having Nick Patrick wrestle.
Why?
Because they got the Battle Royal.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It just ain't going to be good.
No.
I don't know. Maybe he's like Bret Hart under there.
If I remember correctly, he is not. But I could be remembering wrong.
Yeah, it just seems like it's one of the matches you don't want to see. Like, just imagine paying money and then this is what you get. That just pissed me off, I guess. Or I wouldn't have paid for it. It's like, nope. I'll skip this one.
Well, imagine getting paid money to talk about it.
Hopefully one day that'll happen.
Hopefully.
So, if you agree with anything, let us know in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow us on all the social medias. And until next time, top guys.